Hey guys, Aaron Cybertron Zhang here, and today I'm back with another episode of Road to Rank, where I climb the Online Series 9 ladder and provide live commentary as I go. I, as you may know, took a lot of the last week off. I was actually on vacation, just to kind of disconnect from both YouTube and from work. It was a really nice vacation, had a lot of fun. That being said, making Road to Rank is so part of my routine that I actually ended up making 2 videos while I was on vacation anyway, but that's because I had some downtime and I really do enjoy making the videos. So hopefully you enjoyed those 2 episodes while I was gone. If you haven't seen them, definitely check them out. But yeah, it definitely feels good to be back. You know, Road to Rank has been such a part of my routine. I've been making almost daily videos for the last year and a half or so. Since Sword and Shield came out. So I appreciate everyone that continues to come out and watch these videos, and whether or not you just watch one or all of them, I appreciate the support. And yeah, I continue to have fun making these videos. I wouldn't do them if I didn't have fun, and so I hope you continue to have fun watching them. So thank you so much as always for your support. Today, we're trying out another team built by Binjie, who has really been one of the best team builders and best players in Sword and Shield. You may remember him because he got second at the very first regional championships in Sword and Shield. He's had many top performances, including in the Players' Cup, for example, as well. And he was actually able to top the Showdown ladder with this very exact team as well. And it features some pretty cool Pokemon. Now, we actually just used Gigantamax Blastoise, but G-Max Blastoise is really interesting. You know, we featured it on the channel a bunch throughout the different formats. It's a really fun Pokemon, but it turns out that it's actually one of the top meta threats right now. The Players' Cup 4 regional qualifiers, the first stage at least, took place a couple weekends ago, and in Europe, I think there were 3 or 4 G-Max Blastoise teams that made it into the top 16, and they were all by very dominant and strong players as well. So it turns out that Gigantamax Blastoise is not only just a fun Pokemon to use, it's actually really good in the format as well. And, you know, I think like I've definitely been impressed by G-Max Blastoise the couple times we featured on the channel, but to see it being piloted by such excellent players to top tournament finishes is really impressive to me, because it wasn't that common back in Series 7. So, you know, this is a Pokemon that's going to max very frequently, obviously. You want Hydro Cannon for the strongest G-Max Cannonade, Ice Beam just for Hailstorm, that's valuable against, a lot of Pokemon like Landorus, for example. And then Yawn is really interesting as well. Jamie, I think, actually had Yawn on his Blastoise, so we just featured Gigantamax Blastoise on the previous team as well. And it's just because Yawn is a really good move that people have kind of forgotten about a little bit. It doesn't feel as common as maybe, say, in VGC 2020 when you would have like Yawn Togekiss, for example, or Yawn Gastrodon. So Blastoise is obviously very centerpiece to this team. You also have Leftovers Turtonator. Now Turtonator we featured a little bit of in Series 8 as a counter to some Steel types like Zacian, for example. Turtonator continues to be a good counter into Steel types, especially if you get a Iron Defense off, because so many of the Steel type Pokemon in the format are physical. It's going to be pretty difficult to KO Turtonator after just a single Iron Defense boost. To round out the team, you've got Classic Swords Dance Lum Landorus, Classic Focus Sash Urshifu, Classic Miracle Seed Rillaboom, and then Citrus Thundurus. So this is actually very reminiscent of VGC 2013 Thundurus, like support Thundurus from 2012, 2013, 2015. You've got T-Bolt, you've got T-Wave, you've got Taunt, and then Eerie Impulse is the final move. Back in the day, you'd see something like Hidden Power Ice or Protect. Obviously, HP Ice doesn't exist anymore. Protect isn't super valuable on a Thundurus like this, especially in this format. So Eerie Impulse is really the perfect last move. Super valuable because there are so many strong special attackers in the format, especially AB Celesteela, for example. And if you can Eerie Impulse something that's Dynamaxing on turn 1, and it's a special attacker, it gives you such a big advantage. So thank you once again to Binjie for the team. Details are in the description below, as well as his Twitter. And yeah, you know, Series 9/Series 7, like, we're going on to the 5th month of the format about at this point. And so, question of the day, I ask this every now and then. I want to know how you're feeling about the format. To me, quite frankly, I think, for YouTube at least, it's been a lot of fun. Like, we still continue to feature really cool teams, really innovative teams, and it hasn't gotten boring for me yet. But I think if I were playing super seriously and trying to compete, I'm not sure my answer would be the same. That being said, like I said, a lot of cool Blastoise teams made it to the top 16 of the European Players' Cup 4 qualifiers. And so, yeah, I think there is still a lot of room to innovate in this format. That's why it's always fun to see a metagame develop. But I've been rambling on long enough, so let's get into today's episode. Thanks so much, as always, for watching. If you enjoyed, please share your support by leaving a like, and let's get started. Alright, getting into the first match here. Some really interesting mons. Togekiss, Dragapult, Kartana, Snorlax, Rotom, and Incineroar. Okay. I mean, Blastoise doesn't love going up against Kartana or Rotom. Thundurus helps. You can obviously Eerie Impulse. Okay, I think I like Thundurus plus Blastoise. Turtonator in the back. Turt's really solid here. What do I want as the last one? Like, I'm inclined to go with Urshifu, just because it's Sash and my opponent's biggest offensive threats, I think, are going to be Kartana and Dragapult, and it hits both of those for super effective. Intimidate's not super valuable for us here. We take a lot of damage in return as well. So I think I'll go with Urshifu. But I get to bring the first 3 Pokemon on this team, which I'm all really excited about because they're all great. So, yeah, there's a lot of stuff my opponent can do, right? Like, there's potential setup, Togekiss, Follow Me, Dragapult, Dragon Dance, Rotom, Nasty Plot, Belly Drum, Snorlax even. If it's Togekiss, Snorlax lead, that could actually be pretty scary if it's Belly Drum. What would I do? What would I do? Maybe just T-Bolt and Cannonade turn 1? Yeah, I mean, it wouldn't be terrible, especially because we have Urshifu with Close Combat in the back, so... But I don't think they're going to go Togekiss, yeah. Okay, so it's Rotom Dragapult. Rotom Dragapult, it's pretty free to Eerie Impulse, or I could Thunder Wave turn 1. I don't know, Thunder Wave's actually really interesting here. Like, bait them to max? So T-Wave Dragapult, and then switch Blastoise out. Into Turt. I want them to ideally max one of these 2 Pokemon on turn 1. Because the Thundurus can stall out the early game pretty easily against both of these, right? If we can stall out the early game and Blastoise maxes in the end game once their max is over, we get so much of an advantage. Especially because we get more residual damage. I guess the risk in switching in Turtonator is like they could max Wormwind, but that's a little bit risky because then you don't cover for Thundurus potentially being offensive, right? Like if it were AV Thundurus and you were to max Wormwind the Blastoise slot, that's super risky. Okay, so they are going to max Dragapult, which I'm okay with. So I'm thinking T-Wave, Dragapult turn 1, turn 2, Protect, Turtonator, Eerie Impulse, Rotom, and then go from there. It's probably Nasty Plot Rotom, so like... Okay, we get... The nice thing about Priority T-Wave here as well is that's 3 turns of Dragapult potentially being fully paralyzed, right? Even 1 turn would be huge for us. Yeah, so they're going to be Nasty Plot, but it's fine. I can just Eerie Impulse the Rotom a bunch now. And they actually get paralyzed immediately, so that's one of the added benefits. Like, I was going for T-Wave for speed control. Now, I don't know. I mean, if they get a one-shot there, that obviously could make the difference. And I wouldn't be surprised if my opponent targeted Thundurus there, so obviously a lucky turn for us. I'm just going to Eerie Impulse Rotom here, I think. And like I said, Protect Turtonator. The whole goal right now is to just stall out my opponent's max and then sweep with Blastoise in the end game. But I think my opponent led really well here, honestly. Dragapult Rotom was very smart. I didn't have too much to counter that directly. But I am okay with how the early game looks right now. Especially because we got the full para immediately. And if they were targeting Thundurus and it would have one-shot there, things could have gotten a little bit dicey. Great target with the Hydro Pump. Wouldn't be surprised if my opponent doubled up onto Thundurus here. So if they did, kudos to them. It's a ton of damage there. And Max Phantasm. Okay, they target Turtonator. Perfect. Yeah, we're in really good shape right now, I think. Because, yeah, like I said, the whole goal was to just try to mitigate the early game. And now we have successfully done that. Turn 1's a big deal, though, because, yeah, if they targeted the Thundurus and slot and one-shot it, and I would honestly think we get one-shot, like, this would be a very different game, because then I wouldn't be able to Eerie Impulse Rotom. So, yeah. I'm guessing they targeted Thundurus, honestly, so we definitely got lucky there. Obviously, I can't say that with 100% confidence, but it just seems like the play that makes the most sense. Now it makes sense for them to Wormwind into Turtonator. Do I just sack Turtonator? How good is it in this matchup? It's actually incredible in the end game. Huh. Okay, because of that, I'm honestly down to Thunderbolt the Rotom and actually switch out into Urshifu. Because I think Turtonator wins against the remainder of my opponent's team. It beats Snorlax, it beats Kartana, it beats Incineroar. So both Turtonator and Blastoise are both super good win conditions for us. And now the thing is, after T-Bolt, Wicked Blow should just KO either of these next turn, right? Nice, good damage. Perfect, and Nasty Plot even better. Okay. I think that's a good play to try to cover for potential Eerie Impulse, but I don't really see that much value in Eerie Impulsing right now because they're not going to one-shot us anyway, right? So there's the Max Wormwind, targeting Thundurus. Okay, perfect. Perfect. This is great, right? Because now I just get the free switch in into Blastoise. And my Focus Sash is still intact, and I have Turtonator in the end game as well. So let's bring out Blastoise here. You know what? I think that this might have been a position for Turtonator to just set up, now that I think about it. I think I could have just brought it out and then just gone for... I don't want to risk a crit. Like, I think it's fine to play it this way, too. Because what I'm going to do is just go for Wicked Blow onto Rotom. I guess the fear is if it somehow doesn't KO. Like, what I want to go is just max here. We don't need a Cannonade. Actually, we can just Hailstorm Wicked Blow this turn. What's their switch into a Hailstorm? Incineroar? Or, yeah, that's fine. Like, why go for a Cannonade when I can just get the one-hit KO, right? And then just Wicked Blow Rotom here. What else? Like, what I was thinking is, if Wicked Blow was a guaranteed knockout onto Rotom, I could bring in Turtonator and just go for an Iron Defense, but the thing is, that Paralyzed Dragapult's still going to outspeed Turtonator. Turtonator's just a really slow Pokemon, so it still gets a Life Orb Dragon Darts off before I'd attack, right? So, I'd rather just conserve it, especially because, like I said, it's a really good win con after I eliminate Rotom and Dragapult. Those are the two things that mainly counter Turtonator on my opponent's team right now. But I think I got outled this game, and I kind of want to reevaluate a different game plan, because if my opponent did target Thundurus on turn 1 and we got one shot, this would be a very different game. I guess I didn't consider the possibility of Ally Switch, but even if they did, we'd be fine, so yeah, we didn't really need to. Nice. Okay, Wicked Blow gets the KO. And once again, the beauty of conserving your Gigantamax in the late game with something like Blastoise is now... I mean, now the game's over, right? I should get 4 turns of residual damage. They don't have a Dynamax Pokemon or Rotom out on the field, so yeah. But the reality is that there was a play for my opponent to make, and a pretty likely play that could have punished me really heavily, and that's because they led better than I did on turn 1. So, I'm just going to assume that the RNG did matter on turn 1, and it means, like, even if it didn't, the reality is that if my opponent did find the play, we would have been in a lot of trouble, right? So, ideally, you come up with a better lead where you don't feel at risk, like the way I did, right? Okay, so they bring out Incineroar. So what beats Dragapult and Rotom, then, is the question. They had so much setup on this team that I was scared. Like, it's hard to cover for every option, right? Because you could go Togekiss, Dragapult, Togekiss, Rotom, Togekiss, Snorlax, Dragapult, Togekiss. Dragapult Rotom, Incin plus any of the setup Pokemon. Like, there's so many combinations that my opponent could have gone with. So I'm just thinking, is there anything I could have done to directly counter Rotom plus Dragapult? I guess it's Thundurus plus Urshifu. That's probably our best bet. Even then, though, if Dragapult is Airstream, you can just Airstream T-Bolt Urshifu turn 1. So then I guess the play would be to T-Wave Pult, maybe Wicked Blow turn 1, but yeah, Dragapult's actually not exactly the easiest matchup for us. That's kind of why I wanted to paralyze it ASAP, right? Now we can just Cannonade with Turtonator in the back. This game's a wrap. I guess Detect here. Might as well conserve the Urshifu. Yeah. But as soon as we get Cannonade off, I mean, if they don't follow me, when they don't go for it, we should just KO the Incineroar. Yeah, there's no reason to attack with Urshifu this turn. Especially because we have such a huge advantage right now, right? So when you have the numbers advantage, you just want to ask yourself, like, how do I not throw the game? We're so far ahead in this game that I don't even think it'd be possible to throw this turn. Well, I guess the throw would be to, what, max guard Blastoise, give up the Urshifu, bring in Turtonator, and then max again for some reason. Well, that's just, yeah. That wouldn't happen unless I timed out, like, twice. But yeah, like, you know, never give up Pokemon for free if you don't need to. In this game, we had a big enough advantage where we actually, like, sometimes you want to consider giving up a Pokemon to get a free switch in. But in the case of this game, we didn't really need that free switch in. So, yeah. The support Thundurus came in clutch for us here, right? It was able to not only decrease Rotom's special attack, but also paralyze the Dragapult, which meant that Blastoise could outspeed it in the late game. So, I do think, you know, with this team, you have 2 main max options. Obviously, Blastoise is one of them. Landorus is the other. And if you can stall out your opponent's max, Thundurus is going to be a really critical component of that. Focus Sash Urshifu is also going to be a really critical component of that. I can give you a huge advantage, right? Because Blastoise, or any of the Pokemon that have the residual G-Max damage, Colossal, Charizard, Venusaur, for example, if you can stall out your opponent's max, you get so much more value out of the residual effect, right? Next match here, and it's Whimsicott, but the rest of the team is pretty interesting. You've got Whimsicott, so it's probably like Worry Seed stuff. Tornadus, Excadrill, and Entei. I mean, Blastoise looks good here. Whimsicott is the main thing to watch out for, right? So it's a question of how fast the Weezing is, because what I want to do is lead Urshifu plus Blastoise. Well, we should survive. Do we even survive Max Strike with this thing? I'm not sure. I mean, we should survive a 1 Max Strike, right? So I like my two leads here are Urshifu Blastoise or Rillaboom Blastoise, I think. Or Turt? Wait, Turt's actually pretty interesting. But I'm not gonna burn them, but I can body press them. Okay, let's give Turt a shot. Rillaboom's not great here, right? It's to be valuable for a single Grassy Glad, but I think Landorus has more value in the end game. So, alright, let's try this out. Really interesting team for my opponent here. I don't know fully what to expect, but I think the good thing is that Blastoise isn't really reliant on its ability. Turtonator isn't really reliant on its ability. And Turtonator is like max HP, max defense. So you can't, I don't think you can one-shot it, and even a single body presser, like we can just Iron Defense turn 1, although I think if you lead Whimsicott, you're just going to taunt me, right? Are you though? Because I can just Cannonade? This turn 1's so weird, because it's like, I could just Cannonade. I can even Yawn, no, but they're going to surely Max Strike Blastoise, right? If I'm my opponent, the play I'm making here is I'm protecting Weezing, and then I'm yeah, do you protect Weezing or do you taunt? Because you can Max Strike the Blastoise. I really want to just Cannonade Weezing, or sorry, Gigas, and Body Press it turn 1. I'm going to go for that, I think. I just think it's so risky to not protect Weezing, right? Like, if you don't protect it and your Weezing faints turn 1, how do you win the game after that? If they make the call not to do it, kudos to them. Because I could easily see them going Max Strike Blastoise Taunt turn 1, expecting me to read into the Protect. But either way, we get so much damage off in a Gigas turn 1. I don't know how much it does, though, I guess, is the main scary thing here. But we should survive a strike. If they're Life Orb, they take some more damage, right? Like, the damage adds up. You'd be taking Super Effective Body Press from Turtonator. You'd be taking G-Max Cannonade, Life Orb. You'd be taking Residual from both the G-Max Cannonade and your own Life Orb from Gigas. And then I could double protect for another Cannonade chip. The problem is that I think Gigas might survive all of that with like 10% or so. And they did not protect the Weezing. Nice play. Okay, it's a lot of damage in a Blastoise, but it's not enough for a KO. So the question here is whether or not they taunted or not. If they didn't, that is even more wild to me. Yep, it was Life Orb. We're still faster than Weezing. Okay, so they're not speedy Weezing. That is really important information. Good damage, but I don't know if it's the best there. It's really risky for them to not protect turn 1. Like, risk versus reward-wise. Clear Smog. Okay, so they just got rid of the speed drop on that. Works for me. And they're Black Sludge as well. Wow. Blastoise protecting this next turn is like super duper obvious, right? Got Landorus and Urshifu in the back. If this thing gets a single Iron Defense off, they're in a world of hurt. I think I'm just gonna Max Guard. I mean, Gigas probably has Max Quake, right? You would think so. You know what? I think I'm down to Cannonade this and go for an Iron Defense. No, that doesn't cover for them striking and taunting me. Okay, I'm gonna go for Max Guard and Body Press here. Okay, so they do have Max Guard on Weezing, or sorry, on Gigas. That's fine. Taunt? Yeah. Nice play. That covered for anything I could have gone for other than me not maxing Blastoise. But not all Gigas carry Max Guard, so I was willing to make that play. It's a great taunt by them, though. Okay, so Gigas faints after this turn, which is obviously very nice for us. Honestly, I feel like we should conserve Turtonator here. I mean, they're going to strike into this thing. Yeah, I think what I want to do here is just Cannonade into Weezing, switch out into Landorus here. Especially because I have the Lumberry. So I don't have to worry about a Will-O-Wisp from the Weezing. We've seen Taunt, we've seen Clear Smog, Will-O-Wisp Protect. So maybe it's just not... Oh, they Max Quake! That's a big misplay. Maybe I wouldn't call it a misplay. Like, they probably felt really pressured to just KO Turtonator. That's one of the other reasons why I was, wanted to make that switch. Now you can see why they were willing to attack with Weezing turn 1. They have Dazzling Gleam as well, which implies they... I mean, we've seen Taunt, Dazzling Gleam, and Clear Smog, so no Will-O-Wisp or Protect. Either way, though, I think because we end up getting a free turn here, that should win us the game. Yeah, perfect. But I can understand why my opponent wanted to max Quake Turtonator. I think like they realize that they have no good answer in a Turtonator in the late game, right? Like Entei, Tornadus, Whimsicott, none of those are cutting it, right? So my opponent was like, I kind of need to go in all in right now because if I don't, Turtonator just wins the game. Okay, so Entei comes out, no problem with me. Yeah, I mean, this should just be game over at this point, I would think. Gigas is useless. I still have another turn of Cannonade. The Weezing was clearly very bulky and didn't have any speed investment. Okay, -1 attack. I mean, that thing is completely useless for my opponent. I think we can just Hydro Cannon here and Swords Dance. No. I don't know if I love that, actually. Because if, like, we know Gigas is fainting after this turn, which means they actually get a free switch in. Wait, actually, I do like Swords Dance, I think, still. Maybe I even want to switch this out into Urshifu? Yeah, I'm actually down to do that. Because if you have to KO Blastoise right now, right? If you don't, Hydro Cannon just wins the game. I guess they could, like, bank off a miss, but they don't know. Well, normally Blastoise run Hydro Cannon or Water Spout, I guess. You maybe go for the miss. Oh, they actually switch out Gigas. That's really interesting. Into Whimsicott, okay. Yeah, that's the other thing. I feel like my opponent's team just doesn't have enough late game offense. It's Eruption. It's Eruption. Right when I said... I don't know why I didn't consider Eruption. I mean, I think it's still fine, but... It makes this more interesting for sure. Turtonator theoretically should win the game for us at this point. They don't have enough offense for it. I just want to be careful about... I can see why they made the switch, because they could Worry Seed now, right? Okay, I think I'm going to go into Landorus here. It's probably Scarf Entei. It's so funny, I had even used Eruption Entei. Okay, then the switch was bad on my end. That was the one possibility I didn't consider. And if we lose this, I'd actually call it a throw, even. But I think Sucker Punch into Rock Slide here is fine, even if you have Fake Tears. They don't go for a Fake Tear, so that's good. Okay, they just Moonblast, that's fine. Into Landorus, that's fine. Okay, yeah, I think we're okay here. Yep. We should survive this, I would think. Okay. And now the end game is Whimsicott. Whimsicott plus Regigigas with 1 tick of HP left. Wait, what? Oh. It's eject as well, so it's Switcheroo. Switcheroo, Moonblast, Tailwind, and Worry Seed is my guess as its moveset. But you're going to faint with Regigigas. Regigigas only gets 1 attack off. And I don't think a high horsepower, even with slow start deactivated, KOs us. So we should be good. But this was a little bit too close for comfort. Because if Landorus got crit in this game, we could have lost. And I basically had a guaranteed win if I played it properly. I didn't consider the Eruption, Heatran option, so... Then the question is, what's the better play to make in that position? Because maybe our play still would have worked out, but I gotta think about that later. If you're my opponent here, what would you do? I would protect this thing and KO the Landorus. To which my play to that would be to fly. Yeah, I think I like Fly here, and I like Iron Defense here. I don't know if Burning Jealousy KOs Whimsicott, that's why. Okay, they're just gonna go for Moonblast, that's fine. Because the thing is, Gigas is gonna faint, right? So then it's gonna be Turtonator versus Whimsicott 1v1. Just go for Giga Impact, okay. Yeah, this Turtonator is so bulky. The Burning Jealousy, sorry, the Iron Defense play covered for them protecting with the Regigigas. Here's what I was nervous about. I was nervous about Whimsicott being bulky enough to survive the Burning Jealousy, them protecting the Gigas, and then Moonblasting into Landorus, because I think that was my opponent's win condition, quite frankly. Now I'm just going to protect here. I don't think Moonblast is a 2-hit KO when you factor in leftovers, but they're going to need a crit or two. Okay, they go for Switcheroo. That makes sense. I mean, you get rid of my leftovers. I think I see what they're going for. They're hoping I don't have a Fire-type attack here and just hoping I have to bank off Body Press. But I think single-target Burning Jealousy may KO. That being said, it is eject button Whimsicott, so maybe it has some more bulk. I'm going to just go for Moonblast this time around, which is the correct play. 119 down to 56. This is what I mean. We were at risk of losing this game from a crit, which I really don't love. Burning Jealousy does enough there to finish off the game. This should have been a win as soon as they went Max Quake into us, but they managed to find a really good way to come back into this game. What was the position we were in? It was Landorus plus very low Blastoise. The question then is whether or not Landorus would have fainted, because if it would have, then the switch is actually still correct there. I'm just trying to think of a way if we could have won this game guaranteed by trying to avoid any crits. You know, I'm going to do the Eruption Calc real quick. Landorus had taken just a little bit of chip damage at that point, right? So Landorus, T, Entei. I think we would have survived. Yeah, and if we survive, then, like, nah. I think we should probably just stay in and click Rock Slide there. I guess I could still lose then to a miss. Yeah, Modest Eruption to 4 HP Landorus does 60 to 71%. Well, I guess the thing is, like, the whole time I was saying to play around a crit, I was still at mercy of a crit there, right? I could have protected Blastoise in that position. The reason I didn't was because I thought I had my opponent, like, checkmated, basically. Like, I was like, oh, you can't KO both the Blastoise and the Landorus, so you either have to protect, or you pick up one KO and I either get a free boost, which allows me to win the game. Or not a free boost, sorry, a switch out, which allows me to intimidate your last Pokemon, which I wanted to cover for Excadrill mainly. But yeah, I think maybe we could have just stayed in with the Landorus in that position. Because if we also just stayed in and just clicked Rock Slide, we also would have gotten chip damage on the Whimsicott coming in, and it had eject button, so it would have just forced it back out, and then the Regigigas would have fainted. But obviously, I couldn't have known it had the eject button. So yeah, Turtonator was really clutch for us in the end there, though, so that was awesome. Last match of the day, and this is a really cool team. Lucario, Entei, Tornadus, Rillaboom, Regirock, and Urshifu. So like, I see Regirock, there's no Trick Room. Is there beat up somewhere here? Do any of these Pokemon get beat up? Because I see the Lucario, and that's immediately what I'm thinking of. I guess it also could be like, you know, Mach Punch or Vacuum Wave to activate Weakness Policy on the Regirock. Either way, it's an awesome team, so really cool to see. Blastoise feels pretty good here, right? They have like no special attackers, but T-Wave is still valuable. To an extent though, I don't think it's that good. The only thing I'd be Thunder Waving is probably the Entei, but I think Turtonator, Rillaboom... I guess the question is whether or not I want Urshifu. The lead I like here is Landorus Blastoise, because I just get an Intimidate off immediately, so if you go Rillaboom, you're in a trickier spot. The main reason to bring Rillaboom would be to have a better matchup against the Regirock specifically. Urshifu is a little bit better otherwise. Okay, I'm gonna go with Urshifu because I don't know what that Lucario does, and I'm scared of it. So I want to show it respect, and Urshifu is gonna be a better answer to it than Rillaboom. But we'll see. Definitely a really cool team. Yeah, it's interesting to see Regirock like outside of a Trick Room context because it's so slow. Most of the times you either see it, you know, with Pokemon like Porygon. You don't necessarily need Trick Room for it to sweep, right? But there isn't even a Trick Room option, which I think is what makes it more interesting here. So we're going to go with Regirock plus Rillaboom. This is interesting. Like, this is why I wanted to lead Landorus Blastoise, right? I get that Intimidate off immediately. But the thing is, what do I want to do on turn 1? I'm hoping that I've like baited my opponent into thinking they're in so much trouble that they feel pressure to like, I don't know, max the Rillaboom. Because I think it'd be pretty free here to actually swap Blastoise out into Turtonator and Swords Dance. This is relatively low risk and very, very high reward potential. Like, it could just win us the game on turn 1 if they feel pressured to target Blastoise. And there's a decent chance they do. Because Blastoise kind of rips through everything other than the Rillaboom, so it's like you kind of need to deal with it right now. Best case would be Rillaboom maxing. So I don't know if it's Rillaboom or Regirock. Now, one really good play they could make is, like, I don't know, fake out into Landorus, max Knuckle. That would be an incredible read. Okay, they are going to max the Regirock. That's probably weakness policy then, and I'm guessing they're bulky enough to survive a G-Max Cannonade, because otherwise it's a pretty risky play to make. Either way, I still feel pretty good about our position. Okay, Rillaboom does not fake out or glide, so it's probably going to be Woodhammer into Blastoise, I would think. Where's the Woodhammer? Yeah, okay, perfect. And this is why Turtonator is so good with Blastoise, right? It resists grass so darn well. Oh! I didn't think about that. Oh. I did not think about that. That's awesome. Well played, well played. I was so used to seeing like Rock Slide, you know, like a ground type, like, yeah, Earthquake, fighting type attack. I just did not consider Ice Punch because I just haven't used that on any Regirocks that I've played with, but it is a decently common attack. So for me to just miss that completely was terrible. However, I still don't regret that play too much in this. Do I regret it? I feel like we had the matchup, so there was probably a safer play to make. That play always works if they don't have Ice Punch, right? But they obviously did. They have Woodhammer as well, which is not good. It's not good for us. But I think this is okay. I'm down to Iron Defense here. What's their Turtonator answer? They really don't have one. I guess Urshifu. You do enough damage with Regirock right now, and then you crit through in the end. Like, I'm going to Iron Defense here and go for a Protect. Protect is actually really nice to have on Blastoise here because a lot of Blastoises don't have room to fit it on. And they actually swap Rillaboom out into Tornadus. Okay, so this is interesting. It's a calculated decision to reset the Intimidate. Now, I actually don't mind that too much. Maybe I should mind it, actually. They played perfectly these first two turns, though. This is probably going into the Turtonator slot. Yep. Oh, that is so much damage. I think that wins them the game, quite frankly. Oh, my opponent played this so well. It's just me not considering Ice Punch screwing me over completely. I didn't cover for that option at all, but they made their first two turns were perfect. The Tornado switch in there is really brilliant as well, right? And I'll tell you why. Because even if I had Max Blastoise and gone for Max Hailstorm on a Tornadus, you just get the free switch him back out into Rillaboom. So now I think we can win the game, but it banks off of us being fat. Oh, no. You just Tailwind now. I don't think I have an out. Tailwind into Woodhammer is just going to destroy us, I think, at this point. Maybe Turtonator can clutch it out for us. I'm going to Protect here. Okay, hold on. If there's a way out here, I actually think it's around Turtonator. If I'm my opponent, what am I doing here? I'm Tailwinding, and I'm Max Rock Falling into Turtonator. I just did not consider Ice Punch. Brilliant play. I think I didn't assess my win conditions well enough early on in this game, but let's not think about that right now and actually focus on just winning. I'm going Protect Ice Beam here. I don't know if I love that. I think I have to protect Turtonator. Oh, interesting. They don't Tailwind. The lack of Tailwind actually could be a big deal here for us. Because this Blastoise does... Unless you don't... I'm just wondering, like, Tailwind is objectively the best play there unless you're confident you outspeed my Blastoise. So maybe they're just max speed. Man, this Regirock's putting in so much work. But the interesting thing is now... Turtonator is actually going to heal up a lot quickly. And we're at +2 defense. This is going to seem crazy, but I'm honestly thinking about maxing Turtonator just from the defensive standpoint. It's just that the attack boosts don't do anything for us. So it seems kind of silly, right? Rock Slide probably KOs us anyway. Meaning I have to max Turtonator? They played so smart. I got baited into thinking we had like such a good lead. And in fact, it was not a good lead. Oh, I do have max Flare. I didn't think about that. +2 defense, 3 turns of Sandstorm, 2 turns of Grassy Terrain. I think I have to max Turtonator here. I know it seems wild, but I don't see how else we get out of it. Yeah, I'm gonna go for it. I'm gonna Flare into our good buddy Rillaboom, and I'm gonna switch out into Urshifu. The thing about that is it also gets rid of Sandstorm. This game is one in which, like, I had the matchup and my opponent just executed way better on turn 1. I want to look up the percentage of Ice Punch on Regirock, because for some reason, it just didn't even, like, I didn't process it as a possibility, but it should be a pretty common attack, specifically for that interaction, right? If your weakness policy, like, you can take a Max Quake, it activates your policy, and then you KO back with Max Hailstorm. So I thought I made a very risk-free play turn 1, but it didn't cover for Ice Punch. Yeah, so there's Grassy Glide. And Rock Slide. Should I have Max Knuckle? I don't think so. That almost KO'd? Whoa, that was a lot stronger than I expected. Okay, Turtonator, I see you. Well, this just got a lot more interesting. This Grassy Terrain's actually so helpful for Turtonator right now as well. What's their switch it into Max Flare? It's Entei. I want to Max Knuckle Rillaboom here and Detect. I'm just nervous about Rillaboom having Protect here. But I don't think you'd Protect because you would expect another Flare. So a switch out or just sacking Rillaboom makes the most sense here. Rillaboom was such an issue for us. How would I have played turn 1 better? If I wanted to play turn 1 better, I think the play was actually to just max turn 1 and just max Hailstorm into Rillaboom. But if they're AV, maybe they survive. So is that really the best play? Okay, so we get the Detect off. Nice, they glide, okay. Well, I guess now I don't know if Max Knuckle KOs. That would be a problem, wouldn't it? That would be a problem, yeah, actually. 86 down to 60. 26 damage total. Okay, we get the knockout onto Rillaboom, so now I have an attack boost on the Urshifu. But their last one should outspeed us. It just means I get a priority +1 Sucker Punch, which is pretty powerful. But, like, I think if their last one is Entei, I still lose this. Either way, Turtonator was the right max decision. Like, this game was one in which, like, I didn't assess the matchup correctly, because I think we had a really big team advantage, but my opponent completely outplayed me on the first 2 turns. It is Entei. That's not what we want to see. I think we still lose then. What's our win con here? Can't drop their speed. I mean, the play I want to make here is to max Knuckle into Entei again, and then I get a +2 Sucker Punch into it. Oh, wait, I already detected. Hope for Entei to be slower and Wicked Blow instead. But it'd be bizarre for Entei not to be speedy here. I don't like going for the double Protect play. I just don't think +1 Sucker Punch and +1 Wicked Knuckle KOs the Entei here. It's not enough. It's going to survive with a bit. Oh, Scorching Sands. Wow, we actually could have won that if I had close combated the Regirock here. Drain Punch. Yeah, well played. Yeah, if I close combated there, I don't know if +1 close combat KOs. Regirock is just so tanky. There are a lot of calcs I want to do in this game, or after this game. So, yeah, I'm gonna... at this point, the game's over. Scorching Sands, obviously. Yeah, I was also wondering if that was a roll or a guaranteed KO, but it didn't matter because they had Drain Punch to KO us anyway. Yeah, I just, like, botched turn 1. It's funny because I was like, oh, this is a really risk-free play. It turns out it was not a risk-free play at all. But, hey, kudos to my opponent. They I think, had a tough matchup here. And they played very, very well. And this is why VGC, like, every turn is so important. And why you have to assess versus reward, right? And I just didn't consider Ice Punch Regirock at all. So, yeah, really well played by my opponent. There are a bunch of things I want to do. I want to calc... What did I want to calc? Blastoise... Okay, here. Let me pull up my screen real quick. Okay, so the first thing is Regirock. You can see why I wasn't really expecting Ice Punch. Like, Rock Slide, Drain Punch, Protect, Curse, Stomping, Body Press. Right, like the most common 5 moves that you're often going to see are Stomping, Drain Punch, Rock Slide, and either Protect or Curse, and then occasionally Body Press. But Ice Punch does come in 19% of the time. That's, like, enough usage where I absolutely have to respect that as an option. I just completely, like, forgot that was even a possibility for my opponent. So what looked like a really good lead for us actually wasn't that good. Now let's do some damage calcs. Hold on, let me move this further into the middle. Nice, okay. The first thing I want to calculate is Rillaboom Choice Band at -1 against our Blastoise. Woodhammer. Item, Choice Band. Let me double check our EV spread real quick. Okay, so we had 116. The main thing I want to calculate is like Banded Woodhammer against us maxed at -1. Wow, that's actually with that EV spread, it's specifically never a KO. I almost dropped my controller there. That's wild. That was the main thing I was worried about, if they were banded, because they did Woodhammer, right? So that was one of my main concerns. The other thing I wanted to calculate is, let's say they were Life Orb. Sorry, if they were Assault Vest, would they have survived Max Hailstorm? Surely they would have. Yeah. Okay, and then the last thing I want to calculate is into Regirock, how much damage we do with Cannonade. Let's see, Water Spout, Max. They're Dynamax. Weakness Policy was what I was assuming, because AV isn't that much of a threat. I don't have to select Weakness Policy here. It's not a guaranteed KO. It's never a KO. Wow, okay, so that actually makes it really interesting. Like, what I thought was a really good lead didn't turn out to be a good lead at all. So, how do I actually cover for my opponent's lead? Rillaboom could be it. Thundurus is definitely useless. That should never come out. I think Pokemon-wise, we were fine. If I were to play a best of 3... No, I still like bringing Landorus. I guess I just needed a max earlier, but Urshifu as a lead doesn't feel great either. Okay, last calc I want to do is Regirock Ice Punch into Landorus with the EV spread that we have here. So let's say, assume their max attack. Oh, this is not a KO ever. So given this, the correct play would have been to Dynamax Landorus and max Airstream into Rillaboom, because once Rillaboom is out of the way, it paves the way for Blastoise to come out, and then Blastoise can yawn. Their remaining Pokemon were Entei, right? And Entei is obviously super, super weak into the Blastoise here. Yeah. It didn't feel right to, like, if they didn't have Ice Punch, and this is why, like, a good example of how, like, teching a move can give you such a big difference in a matchup, right? Imagine if they didn't have Ice Punch there, and I get Swords Dance off successfully on turn 1, I don't see how my opponent can win the game from at that point, because I just Airstream freely into Rillaboom. So this is one in which like we had Swords Dance, that allowed us to potentially win, but then they had, oh, I just realized the sprites are covered here, my bad. But yeah, I like to do this post-game analysis, because this is how, when I lose, I try to improve, right? And the reality is, like, yeah, sometimes you run into moves that are not as common, but are going to be very good into your team. So then you have to ask yourself, what could I have done? The problem was that I just didn't even consider Ice Punch as a possibility. Like, when I made the Swords Dance play, I was like, oh, this is so low risk, and it's very high reward. Turns out it was actually very high risk, very high reward, because of the Ice Punch possibility. So, sure, it made for a funny moment, but yeah, ultimately, you know, 19% of the time, decently common enough where that's something I absolutely should have considered, and I honestly just kind of forgot that Regirock's even run Ice Punch at all. So, that one's completely on me. But it's actually not as easy of a matchup as I thought it was, as a result. Rillaboom lead would have worked out well, but I think ultimately, yeah, this is, it's just hard for me to, like, justify maxing Landorus on turn 1 in that matchup, but if you look at what my opponent had, they're actually pretty weak to regular Blastoise, especially because we have Yawn on the Blastoise as well. Just gonna move the sprites in a little bit further in. Yeah. Especially because we had Yawn. If we get this speed boost on a Blastoise, I think you can, like, just kind of go, you know, fast and just get Yawns off against my opponent. So, yeah. But Ice Punch literally changes everything about that matchup, and that's why team building is really important in Pokemon. One single move on one Pokemon can dramatically change everything, right? Because ultimately, I thought my opponent's team, like, didn't deal with Landorus super well if this Landorus is at +2. But in the end, Ice Punch was the perfect solution into it. My opponent also played perfectly the first 2 turns, so unfortunately, yeah, Max Turtonator wasn't enough. Oh, last thing I want to calculate was Urshifu +1 close combat, right? Because if that is actually enough to KO Regirock, oh, it really might be. It's a roll. I could have won the game by clicking close combat then into the Regirock, because then it would have been Entei against an Urshifu and a Blastoise, and Sucker Punch was a 2-hit KO, so I just go Sucker Punch and Hydro Cannon, and at that point my opponent's, I think, likely relying on a miss. Yeah. So, I guess I should have made that call. What was I going for? Sucker Punch, hoping they would target the... I didn't think Scorching Sands would also KO Turtonator. That was the other thing. So Entei into Turt. But I don't think it would have made a difference because Turtonator at +1 wasn't going to KO with Max Knuckle anyway. Yeah. So Scorching Sands, assuming their max H special attack. We're Dynamaxed. How much HP do we have? 204. Oh, but we have 104 special defense. 204 and 204 and 100. Oh, that's jolly. Scorching Sands does 70 to 84. How much did we have? We actually had exactly 80 HP. But I don't think that really mattered in the grand scheme of things. Well, even if we survive there, we lose the game. I needed to close combat that turn and get the... my play there was incorrect. Sucker Punch Knuckle was never it. Well, I guess it's it if I crit the Sucker Punch and then Max Knuckle finishes off. But I don't even think Max Knuckle finishes off. Let's see. +1 Max Knuckle. We're Bold Nature. Yes, minus attack. Oops. It could have been a go for the Sucker Punch crit. Anyway, I've been analyzing long enough, but that was just a really interesting game. Because I thought we had like a fantastic matchup, but the more I think about it, the more it's like I need to think about it more. Because the lead doesn't work when they have Ice Punch on Regigigas. But yeah, props to my opponent. Anyway, that was a really fun one. I thought Turtonator maybe could have pulled off the comeback. If it one-shot Rillaboom, it really might have been enough. No, but then my opponent would have just gotten a free switch in, right? And Turtonator didn't do enough damage at that point, and Blastoise was so heavily damaged, so I think my opponent would have still won. They correctly brought Entei, which was a really good fourth for them, so yeah. Anyway, that's going to be it for this one, so thanks so much as always for watching, and yeah, leave a like if you enjoyed. Don't forget to check out Binjie, linked in the description below, team in the description below as well, and I'll catch you all next time. Alright, peace.